So you're straight to Solihull, where the inquest into the deaths of 21 people killed in the Birmingham pub bombings have been reopened.
Today is the most seismic day for all of us. I hope that our fathers, brothers, sisters, mothers are looking down and they're proud. We'd like to thank the coroner, Mrs. Louise Hunt, for her time and her consideration. This is way beyond our expectations. We would like to thank our supporters, Birmingham, all over the country, all over the world, Northern Ireland and Ireland, the Birmingham Mail, who are our staunchest supporters, and of course KRW Law, who are based in Belfast, who have been incredible. Without them, we would not be here today. They have done this pro bono for nothing because we couldn't possibly afford their services. But they have the experience and expertise in this very specialised area of the law that we have been so fortunate to gain from. We will be forever indebted to KRW Law. Our next fight is for us to apply for legal aid because we could not possibly afford this level of an inquest. So we call upon the Attorney General, the Justice Minister, to please help us in our aid for legal aid. As Margaret Aspinall from the Hillsborough Group stated the day after their hearing, she said there are lots of victims' families out there who suffer from atrocities and loss and get no aid whatsoever. And then Andy Burnham MP stated and confirmed that unfortunately victims have to fight, whereas the police are able to literally just dip their hands into public funds. How is that possibly fair? How is that just? And where is the equality? Our loved ones did not ask to be murdered that night. All we want is to be heard so we can get to truth, justice and accountability.
You were warned this will be a long, difficult process which
Yes.
may not yield many conclusions ultimately. Are you prepared for that?
Absolutely.
Julie, will there now be justice for the 21?
In light of what the coroner has now decided to do to resume the inquest, anything is possible. Our only hope is that the West Midlands Police legal team or the Police Federation's legal team or the Ambulance Services legal team do not decide to appeal, because if they do, in my opinion, I think that would be highly cynical on their part, particularly in light of the senior coroner's very extensive conclusion to her findings and as to why she has decided she believes it is right to resume these inquests.
But how does it make you feel? You stood united you stand today.
We do stand united. I am so proud of all the families and our legal team and even you guys. I cannot put into words how we feel. I mean, my brother and I and Paul Thrupp, we were crying. You can't. We wouldn't want you to walk in our shoes, but if you were in our shoes today, you would feel a sense of, you can't say joy, but there's a sort of consciousness that we feel for our loved ones. A relief, yes.
After 42 years, this is the start of a long road. Now, where do you anticipate it will lead?
I'll come back to you in a minute. Well, an inquest gives us the opportunity to hear all sides and to hear from people we wouldn't normally hear from. So on the basis of that, that could then lead to other things. The truth, yes. Potentially, it could do, but that would be another matter altogether.
Is that important to you?
Absolutely. The truth is fundamental. And like Hillsborough, they have got the truth. Now they want accountability. That is how we foresee our line of inquiry going through the process of the inquest.
What do you think of it now that there's evidence of 2 further advance warnings that the bombings are going to take place?
Well, that was obviously some of the significant evidence that she was referring to a couple of weeks ago. And if that proves to be substantiated, then that proves the case that our loved ones died unnecessarily, and why did they not act accordingly? Also, I'm not sure if you noted, but when she was referring to witness B, who went to the Tally-Ho police training centre, and it took some time for the police to even come and listen to him. Remember, we were in the height of bombing season at that time, even in Birmingham, and it took some time, and this man had relevant information, and they kept him waiting. I mean, what's going on there? But also, from what she didn't say, I would conclude that there was no statement, a police statement, to confirm that he'd done what he said he'd done. So if what he says was true, then why didn't the police make note of it and have it on their records?
Julie, how did witness B come forward? When do we now know the most recent time of witness B coming forward? You know.
I don't know.
Julie, how do you think West Midlands Police has acted during this process? And also now we know what happened in 1974. What's your view of West Midlands Police?
Well, our view of West Midlands, of the senior management of West Midlands Police, is one of nothing but contempt. You have to remember, I wrote to the Chief Constable, who was then Chris Sims, in 2009, asking him what he was going to do to look for the murderers of the Birmingham Pub Bombings, and he got his inspector to write back, telling me basically he was too busy for the likes of me. Remember, this was the biggest atrocity of England's peacetime history, the 20th century. Then I wrote back and told him how contemptible I thought he was, and he got his sergeant to respond, basically telling me to go away. 21 people are dead. He's the Chief Constable, and he doesn't want to speak to one of the victims' family. Do you know what the motto is for West Midlands Police? Forward in unity. Unity for whom? Because they're most certainly, the senior management of West Midlands Police are not working in unity with the victims of the Birmingham pub bombings.
Julie, what's your message to the bombers, the people who planted these bombs?
Come forward, do the right thing. If you have any level of humanity and any moral compass, then by rights you should come forward. And the reason why they should come forward is because they believe what they were doing, or so they claim, was for the purpose of what they believed they were fighting for. Well, as far as I'm aware, because they claim that they were soldiers, in inverted commas, if they are soldiers, soldiers are disciplined and principled. So if they are disciplined, then they should have stayed where they were and said, we did it and this is why we did it, and I'm not ashamed of what I did. But they didn't. They ran away like cowards and have been hiding in full daylight amongst their fellow citizens in Ireland, apparently, with their freedom, while our loved ones are well dead and buried. Well, we're not going to allow them to die in vain. We're going to fight to find out the truth and bring some level of justice and accountability to light. Because what sort of a society are we leaving for future generations, where we allow mass murderers to walk free, to come to our fantastic city, kill with impunity without any fear of retribution? So does that mean to say that we're giving a green light to future terrorist organisations to do the same, because they know they won't be prosecuted?
Julie, what's your suspicion as to why authorities didn't act on the tip-offs?
Well, that's a very good question. We, in our opinion, believe that they had informants. We believe that there was people who had become double agents, or whatever you call them, and they were working undercover. And that what you've got to remember is that after the Birmingham pub bombings, there was a new law that they were trying to bring in. What's the law called?
Prevention of Terrorism Act.
That's it. The
Prevention of Terrorism.
The Prevention of Terrorism Act. But the Prime Minister at the time was reluctant to implement it. But directly after the Birmingham pub bombings, it was implemented just like that, within weeks.
We will keep across what's happening in Solihull, but I just want to bring your attention to some developments with regard to the Egyptair plane which crashed, claiming the lives of 66 people on board. It's been reported this morning by the Associated Press that a French ship has picked up, quote, signals from deep under the Mediterranean Sea, presumed to be from the black boxes of the crashed plane. It's taken a while to get to this stage. Much was said at the time about the fact that actually, rather surprisingly for many people, parts of the Mediterranean, certainly the part that this plane, it's believed, plunged into, certainly according to some of the debris that was found in the area, is remarkably deep, and that's why it's taken perhaps this long to find, if this is what's now happened, the black boxes that will unlock many of the mysteries, if they're intact, many of the mysteries surrounding what happened to that plane that was travelling to Egypt from Paris. Many of the passengers Egyptian, some 15 or so from France, one Britain amongst them. And let me recap what's been said this morning then, that the Associated Press is saying that a French ship has picked up signals from deep under the Mediterranean Sea, and they are presumed to be from black boxes belonging to this particular plane. We'll bring you much more on that story just as and when the details come to us. Now, the Conservative Party has launched a fresh legal challenge